Story: police are investigating a double shooting in Brooklyn yesterday that escalated from a dispute over a parking spot. One person was left in critical condition.
Police and witnesses say two parties were fighting in the parking lot of a Home Depot when all of a sudden shots rang out. Two people were hit and that shooter is still on the run.
He was trying to go into a parking space, but he pulled up a little bit forward towards the entry. I pulled up behind the guy. He had to back up. And I was impeding on him backing up. I pretty much didn't realize it. I blew my horn for a second, then we exchanged words.
It's locked and it's my first run.
And sweetheart, before I get off this Insta, let me say this, it'll never happen. You can go all there, everything y'all want to, every witch doctor in the mother world, it'll never happen. Praise be to God. I am who I am because I am who I am.
But it's to be happening is over something so minuscule. It's just like...
It was just a regular Saturday afternoon in Brooklyn. Nothing wild, nothing out of the ordinary, but what started as a simple day would turn into something no one could have ever imagined. A well-known model got into a heated argument with a stranger over something so small, most people wouldn't have given it a second thought. Yet in just 5 short minutes, everything spiraled out of control, leaving both her and her boyfriend with injuries that would later turn deadly. How does something as simple as a parking spot end in tragedy like that? This is the heartbreaking story of Imani Sharpless, and trust me, it's about way more than just that one day. Imani Sharpless was only 26 years old on September 9th, 2023, young, full of life, and still chasing her dreams. She wasn't a household name yet. You didn't see her face plastered on glossy magazines or storming high-end runways. But what she did have was something real: drive, ambition, and a fire inside her that couldn't be ignored. She lived in Brooklyn's Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood, sharing a cozy home with her grandmother, a setup filled with love and warmth.
We exchanged words, and I moved out the way.
My girl and I had no expectation of being ambushed.
Imani was in a serious relationship with Cordell McDuffie, a man in his mid-30s, and the two were all about building a future together. They were hands-on, fixing up their new apartment, setting the foundation for the life they wanted to share. By day, Imani worked as a teacher's aide at an after-school program in Brownsville, where everyone adored her energy. People remembered how she truly connected with kids. It wasn't just a job for her, it was something she genuinely loved doing. But when the school day ended and the sun went down, Imani's focus shifted. Her true passion came alive in her creative world. Imani wasn't just dreaming, she was doing. She was enrolled in classes, working hard to turn her passions for modeling and singing into something real.
He pulled up over there by the pharmacy right there, and he came out of the car and on the phone, and he was talking about somebody shoot his girl, but he didn't even say that he got shot too, which he did get shot in his leg and in his back.
Her mom, Alverna Sharpless, couldn't stop bragging about her daughter's talent. She'd show her co-workers Imani's music videos with that proud sparkle only a mother can have. You could feel the love every time she talked about her. I want people to know how beautiful she was, and talented, and gentle, and soft. That's how Alverna would later describe her only daughter, and those words hit deep. Gentle and soft weren't just adjectives. They painted the full picture of who Imani was. She wasn't someone who looked for trouble or liked to stir things up. Nah, she had that calm energy, the kind of person who made a room feel lighter just by walking in. People loved being around her because she made them feel seen and safe. But then came that fateful day. A simple Saturday afternoon at the Home Depot parking lot on 230 Nostrand Avenue in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Nothing unusual at first, until everything changed in seconds. Imani and Cordell ended up in a tense exchange with another person over a parking space. Something so ordinary, it almost sounds unreal. The argument didn't start off wild or loud. It was one of those everyday back and forths that happen in parking lots all across America. Someone thought they had the spot, someone else disagreed. A few words were traded, nothing major. Usually, that's where it ends. People just drive off, cool down, and forget it ever happened. Cordell, trying to keep the peace, made the smart call. He backed off, gave up the parking spot, and moved out of the way. But none of them knew. Things were far from over. Cordell later said he just wanted to avoid any more drama. No yelling, no chaos, just peace. He and Amani had no clue that in the next few minutes, their lives would take a turn they could never come back from. The other person caught up in this parking lot dispute was 58-year-old Quincy James Davis, a man from Gwynn Oak, Maryland. Reports say Davis had taken the parking spot first, walked into the Home Depot for a bit, and then came back out. But when he did, the situation changed fast. What happened next was something no one could have seen coming.
An argument over a parking spot ended with gunfire over the weekend in Brooklyn.
About 5 minutes after that first argument, Amani and Cordell got back into their Hyundai Sonata, ready to move on with their day. They probably thought it was all behind them, just one of those small city disagreements that fades away as soon as you drive off. But as they turned onto another street, everything went from calm to chaos in seconds. Davis suddenly approached their car, and then came the unthinkable. Gunshots. Multiple shots tore through the quiet afternoon, hitting their vehicle and turning a normal day into a nightmare. The panic, the confusion, it's hard to even put into words what those moments must have felt like. Cordell, bleeding and terrified, wasn't thinking about himself. His mind was on Amani. He kept shouting, desperate, worried sick about her condition, his love for her breaking through all the pain. That alone tells you how deep their bond really was, how much he truly cared. Within moments, police swarmed the scene near Willoughby and Nostrand Avenue in Bedford-Stuyvesant. But by then, the damage was already done, and nothing would ever be the same again. Witnesses nearby were shaken. They told NYPD officers everything they saw, trying to make sense of the chaos that had just gone down. Police quickly released a description of the suspect, a man around 5'6", roughly 160 pounds, with a dark complexion, wearing a red and white shirt and black jeans. He was last seen running south on Nostrand Avenue, disappearing into the busy Brooklyn streets. Cordell was rushed to the hospital, his injuries serious, but not life-threatening. He would eventually pull through. But Amani,
me having to relive that moment and knowing that she won't be here to live with me anymore, that hurts the worst.
Her situation was far worse. She was taken to Kings County Hospital in critical condition, and doctors worked around the clock to save her. For 5 long days, Imani fought for her life. Her family stayed by her side, holding on to hope, praying for a miracle, believing that somehow she'd open her eyes and make it home again. The waiting, the fear, it was unbearable. But then came September 14th, 2023. The news no one wanted to hear. Imani Sharpless passed away, just 5 days after being shot over something as meaningless as a parking spot. A life full of dreams and love was stolen in a moment that never should have happened. 26 years old, that's all she got. A Saturday that should have been routine turned into heartbreak that still haunts everyone who knew her. The NYPD didn't waste a second. Detectives jumped into action fast. They gathered evidence from the scene, reviewed witness statements, and pieced together every detail they could find. When a homicide like this hits New York City, especially one with witnesses and clear clues, the investigation doesn't slow down. It accelerates. The message was clear. Someone had taken an innocent life, and the city's detectives weren't going to stop until they found out who. The mission for detectives was simple but urgent. Find him, catch him, and make sure justice was served. The NYPD wasted no time piecing it all together. In a nearby dumpster, officers discovered several key clues. The gun used in the shooting and discarded clothes matching the suspect's exact description. And that wasn't all. An abandoned Mercedes-Benz was found close to the scene, later traced back to Quincy James Davis through vehicle registration records. Investigators started connecting the dots fast. Between witness statements, surveillance footage from the Home Depot, and video from nearby streets, the picture was getting clearer by the day. Then, on September 26, 2023, just 17 days after the shooting, the case hit a turning point. Police arrested Quincy James Davis, ending a manhunt that had gripped the community. Davis was no stranger to trouble. Public records described him as an ex-convict from Maryland, with a criminal past that included robbery and weapons possession. The full details of his history weren't all laid out publicly, but one thing was certain: violence had followed him for years. But the biggest mystery still hung in the air. Why was he even in Brooklyn that day? What brought a 58-year-old man all the way from Maryland to a Home Depot parking lot in Bedford-Stuyvesant? Detectives could find no link between Davis and the couple. There was no feud, no personal grudge, no long-simmering conflict, nothing. By every piece of evidence, this wasn't something planned or personal. It was a random, senseless act that ended in tragedy. A shocking reminder of how fast one moment of anger can change everything. These were two complete strangers crossing paths in the worst possible way over something as small and meaningless as a parking spot. It's almost impossible to imagine how a moment that ordinary could lead to such devastation. But then came one chilling discovery that made the case even more bizarre. Inside Davis's abandoned Mercedes, investigators found something completely unexpected. A Pennywise clown mask. Yeah, that Pennywise. The creepy clown from It. To this day, no one knows why it was there. Police never released an explanation, and it still stands as one of those strange, haunting details that doesn't quite fit, a mystery tucked inside an otherwise tragic and straightforward story. Then, on October 20th, 2023, Quincy James Davis was officially indicted on several serious charges: second-degree murder, attempted murder, first-degree assault, and second-degree criminal possession of a weapon. If convicted on the top charges, Davis could face 25 years to life in prison. The court denied him bail, a move that spoke volumes about just how serious and dangerous his actions were considered to be. Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez later addressed the case publicly, calling it exactly what it was: a senseless act of violence that left Imani's family heartbroken. That word, senseless, kept surfacing again and again in statements from officials, reporters, and community members. Because truly there was no reason for this to happen. There was no logic, no justification, just rage exploding into something deadly over a parking spot. And just when people thought they understood the full story, months later, a shocking new twist would come out, adding an unexpected layer to this already tragic case. Months after losing her daughter, Imani's mother, Alverna, got a phone call that no one could have predicted. It was from Quincy James Davis, calling her directly from his jail cell. He reached out, and instead of hanging up or cursing him out, Alverna did something few could ever imagine. She answered. And soon those calls became regular conversations. What's even more unbelievable, during those talks they prayed together. It sounds almost impossible. The mother of the woman he's accused of killing, praying with the very man behind bars for it. But when you listen to Alverna speak about it, her reasoning hits deep. She's not excusing what he did, and she's definitely not letting him off the hook. What she's doing is something far more powerful. She's choosing how she wants to carry her pain. Instead of letting hatred eat her alive, she's leaning on faith to keep herself standing. She knows that letting bitterness take over would be like losing her daughter twice, once to violence and again to grief that never ends. During these calls, Davis reportedly told her he didn't mean to do it, claiming the shooting was an accident. Whether that's true or just another story is up to the courts to figure out. But what's certain is this: Alverna's decision to keep that line of communication open isn't about him. It's about her own healing. She's walking a road that most people couldn't even imagine walking. "I could not allow this to kill me as well," Alverna said, her voice steady but full of pain. That single line says everything about her strength, her will to survive the unimaginable. Even as the justice system moves painfully slow, crawling through the courts at a glacial pace, Alverna's spirit refuses to break. She's chosen faith over fury, and in doing so, she's rewriting what it means to face tragedy head on. By January 2024, the case had entered the discovery phase, but things were crawling along at a painfully slow pace. Month after month went by, and still, no real progress. The legal system was doing what it always does, moving forward but barely. With endless backlogs, overloaded courts, and mountains of paperwork, it felt like justice itself was stuck in traffic. Then came July 2025, nearly 2 years after Imani's death, and the news left everyone stunned. A judge decided to postpone even setting a trial date, pushing it all the way to fall 2025. 2 full years gone, and not even a trial date on the calendar. Imagine that frustration. The gears of justice were turning, but painfully slow, grinding at a pace that tested everyone's patience, from the family to the accused. Both Alverna and Davis reportedly voiced their frustration with the never-ending delays. Davis even showed up in court using a cane, looking visibly worn down by the toll that jail had taken on his health. The waiting, the uncertainty. It weighed heavy on everyone. This endless legal limbo didn't just stall the case, it trapped everyone emotionally, keeping wounds open that couldn't start to heal. Imani's body was laid to rest on September 23, 2023 at New Frontier Baptist Church in Brooklyn. The service was heartbreaking, filled with tears, silence, and love that refused to fade. Cordell McDuffie, the man who survived that horrible day and loved Imani deeply, was there too, completely shattered. You could see the pain written all over him, the kind that never fully leaves. The woman he planned his life with was gone, and he had to carry the unbearable weight of being there, of surviving what she didn't. A GoFundMe was later created to help Imani's family cover the funeral costs and give her mother Alverna the support she so deeply needed. Even in tragedy, the community came together, proof that Imani's spirit had touched far more lives than anyone ever realized. Alverna had to take time off work just to breathe again, to even begin processing the weight of losing her only daughter. The community rallied behind her, showing up with love, prayers, and support that spoke volumes about the kind of person Imani was. She might not have been a superstar or a celebrity, but what she did achieve was something far greater. She touched people's hearts. Everyone who met her remembered her kindness, her warmth, and the way she made others feel seen. That's the kind of legacy that never fades. Now, nearly 2 years later, Imani's case still hasn't reached justice. There's no trial date, no verdict, and no closure. The system keeps grinding forward, slow and cold, buried in its own red tape. For Alverna, that waiting feels like a wound that never heals, a constant ache that reminds her of what was taken. And for Cordell, who carries both his physical scars and emotional pain, every day without justice is another day trapped in that same nightmare, a simple parking spot. That's what it came down to.
Was in the car with my daughter, and the bullet was intended for him. He was shot in the leg, she was shot in the head. And so, I'm gonna try to make it through a little bit of this song, because in the journey, I found God on a different level also. Because at this point, he's all that I have to hold on to. And overdose awareness is very important to me because I myself am 28 years clean. So I know that the jobs that we do are meaningful. And I know that the job that we do touch and change lives. And I know that the God that we serve is very involved in the changing process. And I want him to continue to work through each and every one of us so that we can continue to be great for our community.
Something so small ended the life of a young woman with dreams, talent, and love in her heart. And that's something we should all care about. It's a harsh reminder of how fragile life can be and how quickly anger can destroy everything. If this story hit you the way it hit me, don't just scroll past, show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe to stay tuned for more real-life stories that need to be heard, and share this video so Imani's name and story reach more people. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had a scary or tense parking lot moment? I want to hear your story too.